father. That you weren't just acting a fool. I'm a single mother with nobody that loves me or my child. What you cheering for?
I'm not.
No, you were. He is over here breaking down because he loves this child so much.
Mr. Anderson is in paternity court with one prayer only. He hopes he isn't the father. Ms. Lima, the plaintiff, says Mr. Anderson is the father of her baby, Christina, and hopes the test today will make him acknowledge Christina as his baby and build a relationship with her. Their messy situation began like this.
It all started from a Facebook message when Mr. Anderson was messaging me on Facebook. So we started being friends online for about 1.5 years. Then out of the blue one day, he called me and said, let's go out for dinner. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not doing anything, so why not? We went out to dinner and we got a hotel room that night. We had sex.
Your Honor.
Just one moment, ma'am.
He, we was planning a trip to go on a trip.
Ms. Lima says she never knew that Mr. Anderson was married and treated him the way she would a normal boyfriend she was going out with. Incredibly, Mr. Anderson doesn't deny any of this at all.
I'm just sorry, Your Honor. I just want to say I'm sorry to my wife and my family and my kids.
I believe you are sorry.
Your Honor, it was a big mistake. And, I really want my marriage and I want my marriage to work. But
and
it started.
I see your wife next to you and I feel her pain.
Me and my wife, we had a bad, argument and I decided to go out.
Well, if it had only happened that night, Mr. Anderson wouldn't be in court with his wife today. Incredibly, Mr. Anderson says this is exactly what happened. He says it was just one night, and then she texted him months later that she was having his baby.
How often would you see Mr. Anderson?
We've seen each other for 2 years, every weekend, Saturdays and Sundays.
Was it strange to you that you only saw him on Saturdays and Sundays, or you thought he was working during the week?
Not really, because I went to his house numerous of times, but
wait, excuse me. You went to his house numerous times?
Yes, I went to his house numerous of times, and I told her what was in her house, and I described it to her.
Oh my God.
Hold on.
Yeah, it looks like Mr. Anderson is going to be telling a lot of lies in court today. A few moments earlier, he was talking about how he had never seen Ms. Lima since that one time, and now he's taking her into his house? Really? That's low. Anyway, Mr. Anderson says Ms. Lima is just looking for a cash out from him.
Oh, hold on. Let me understand this. So you did sleep with another man during the window of conception during that time?
Correct.
And you were sleeping with both men without protection?
Correct.
So how did you finally get in touch with him?
Well, I got in touch with him later, we met up and we had sex again when I was around 4 months pregnant.
Okay.
No, Your Honor, that didn't happen. She disappeared. Your Honor, I haven't heard from her in months.
Of course, he met up with her. Anyway, let's see what Mrs. Anderson has to say about all of this.
The whole world it caved in. Are you serious? This
Because
my
you all have
husband.
built a lot together.
A business. We've been through a lot, Your Honor. And just
And children?
5. Come on,
At what point did you hear there was potentially a baby?
She told me it was a baby. I asked him. Clearly he lied to me.
That's right, Mrs. Anderson, and this already threatens to rip her marriage apart. She doesn't want to continue with the marriage.
Fine, because
My
of
marriage
this.
is past on the line. I can't. And then he's sitting up here. First he said it's one time, now it's numerous of times. You understand? I knew it when she told me what was in my house, that it was numerous of times. And he kept lying. It hurts really, really bad. It hurts really, really, really. No.
The only thing that has even a tiny chance of fixing this is finding out that Mr. Anderson isn't the real father of this baby. It belongs to another man named Mr. Scott. Of course, Scott is also in court today for his DNA test results. So, let's see what the DNA results say about that.
Mr. Scott, you are not her father.
Wow. If Mr. Scott isn't the father, then Mr. Anderson must be, except there's something Ms. Lima isn't telling us. There's only one way to find out.
Mr. Anderson, you are not her father.
There can't be.
Oh my God.
Plaintiffs lie, defendants lie, DNA does not lie. I could see the relief you felt. I felt the relief as well.
This was a paternity case like no other. With so much regret, Mr. Patrick appeared in court, claiming that a stranger whom he welcomed into his home out of the kindness of his heart ended up sleeping with his girlfriend. He now believes he is not the father of her twins. He opened his case by saying,
Mr. Patrick, you say 5 years ago you made a huge mistake by opening your doors to a stranger who needed a place to stay because that man betrayed you and slept with your girlfriend, Ms. Pence. Pence's fraternal twins.
We had wanted to purchase another home. We met the gentleman. We befriended him, let him move into our home. He offered to help pay the bills and stuff.
Mr. Patrick must have been a really welcoming man. The question ringing in everyone's head was about how a stranger he welcomed into his home ended up kicking it in bed with his girlfriend. In his story, he claimed that one evening the defendant, Ms. Pence, disappeared overnight.
Goes on, me and her sat around and had a few drinks, sitting at home enjoying ourselves. And she up and leaves and goes across the street to the neighbors. 10:30 runs around, no Miss Pence. 2, 3 o'clock comes around in the morning, still no Miss Pence. Well, she doesn't show up until the next day, about 10:30 in the morning.
Really?
And her hair's a wreck. You know, it looked like she went through a hurricane or something.
She sneaked out to sleep with the stranger? Now, that's something you don't see every day. In trying to defend herself, she claimed that Mr. Patrick always accused her of sleeping with people, even though she knew for a fact that she hadn't slept with anyone.
I had never slept with anyone else before that night. I had constantly.
You're so flirtatious.
That's how I was brought up. I'm constantly calling people honey and babe.
What did I tell you?
I'm from the South. That's how I was raised. It has nothing to do with that. I never slept with anyone before that. Never. Constantly accused me of it, and I kept telling you, you're going to keep pushing, and it's going to happen.
Mr. Patrick might be on to something there. Maybe the sexual tension was getting too much for them to handle. Anyway, Ms. Penny was not going to deny that what she did was wrong, but she claimed that deep down in her heart, she wanted to make things right.
It seemed like you went out looking for him.
There was no specific reason as to why that guy. It was just someone at the time that was around, and it happened.
So in other words,
But he wasn't around. He had left the house.
He had, Your Honor. I was with my neighbor, like I had stated earlier. Me and her had went out. I did kind of look for him, I guess you could say a little. Me and him got together that night. We ended up having.
I mean, can she really blame him for thinking she's always cheating after what she did? She better cut him some slack. Judge Lauren then went on to ask her when she found out she was pregnant. Ms. Pence explained to the judge when she conceived her baby using this exhibit.
And then on August 7th is the date that the twins were born.
That don't mean that. That's a 5-day window.
It does. The doctor had said that the twins were conceived right around the 2nd of November, Your Honor. The twins were born almost completely full term. And if you count those dates back, it only leads to Mr. Patrick. There's no way
Patrick,
possible.
do you agree with those dates? They seem to add up.
No, Your Honor, I don't. I mean, it's a...
Oh, she thought she was smart. Was she trying to hide the date she slept with the stranger from the judge? Oh well. Aside from the fact that she cheated on him, Mr. Patrick told the judge that he had other reasons that made him doubt he was not the father of the child.
What are those doubts?
I think he's ADHD or something like that. You know what I mean? He doesn't listen. He's rambunctious.
He's a little boy.
I understand
Mr.
he's a little boy, and I hope he grows out of it someday, but I believe he's ADHD or
There's
something.
nothing wrong with
it.
And so,
Doesn't run in my family.
How do you
doesn't
know
run in
that?
her family.
How do you know that it doesn't
Well,
run
I've
in your
been
family?
with you for 10 years, honey.
It doesn't matter. You don't know everything, every single thing about your family history.
I'm not going to fault Judge Lauren for asking a doctor to come to the courtroom. Mr. Patrick, for some reason, felt that one of the twins had a disorder that made him feel the child was not his. This was what the doctor had to say.
Point to one gene, sometimes it's multiple genes, and sometimes it's the way that the genes interact with the environment, and sometimes the genes have nothing to do with it, and it's just something that happened during the pregnancy or during the delivery or in that child's early childhood that can affect how they learn.
that's interesting because you're saying the gene could be a factor, but there's also the gene plus the environment component.
Right. And sometimes it's just the environment, like with lead poisoning, for example.
From the doctor's explanation, it looks like Mr. Patrick might be wrong to claim that he is the father of just one of the twins. But one thing was certain. His doubts were affecting his relationship with Ms. Penny on a major level.
We've always had arguments over stuff.
Yes, but Your Honor,
Just
we
after all this
haven't
happened.
even been had sex in probably the past 4 months. It's just a constant argument from the time that I get up until the time that I go to bed. Pretty much, it's constant argument
Concerning paternity issues?
Paternity and the one night stand, and him saying that it happened more than the one time, Your Honor.
And so that's why, Mr. Patrick, you asked this court.
You heard Mr. Patrick. If it happens that he isn't the father of the twins, he is dumping Ms. Pence's ass and leaving her with the kids. After so much talking had been done, Judge Lauren felt it was time to reveal the results of the lie detector test. This was how it played out.
Your Honor.
You were asked the following questions. During the last 10 years of your relationship with Mr. Patrick, have you had sexual contact with any other man other than the man whom you admitted to cheating with?
Yes, Your Honor.
You said no. The lie detector determined you were being deceptive.
How is that?
Ms. Pence, you were asked, did you have sexual intercourse with the man?
Oh wow, Ms. Penny had more skeletons in her cupboard than she was willing to tell the courtroom. After hearing those results, Judge Lauren felt it was time to reveal the DNA results.
Mr. Patrick, you are the father.
I told you that you was the father. I told you.
Are you relieved, Mr. Patrick?
Oh, very much so. No, the deception stuff with the lie detector test, that's something that's going to have to be worked on, because that just right there shows me I may not be able to trust her again.
And see if anything Ms. Pence said was true at all. This was her verdict. Imagine being an amazing father to your little girl throughout her life for 3 years and having a woman take that away from you simply because she hates you. This was Scotty Rasmussen's thought before paternity court. The court case began like this.
Yes, Your Honor.
You say you've been there for your daughter her entire life, and you're here today to prove you are Zaylee's father.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Rasmussen, why is Ms. Miller saying you're not Zaylee's father?
Your Honor, I believe it's just out of pure hatred. She just doesn't want me to have visitation. I drive 160 miles every other weekend just to pick up my daughter and drop her off.
What an interesting opening to the case. Mr. Rasmussen admitted that he cheated on Ms. Miller at the end of their relationship when things got rocked. Ms. Miller insisted that he cheated on her throughout the entire duration of their relationship. One could imagine that this is where the hate spoken of comes from.
Is it enough to buy her clothes so she doesn't have to wear cut-off sweatpants and the same t-shirt every time I pick her up?
I do that because I don't want. Is it
enough money to buy her underwear so you don't got to keep putting her in diapers at 4 years old?
I have underwear for her, and she is not in diapers. She is in pull-ups. She is in training right now. She is having problems.
She is.
But what he's saying, Miss Miller, is
well, that went south for Ms. Miller pretty fast. She goes on to insist that she does not exactly hate Mr. Rasmussen, but she wants him away from her daughter because she knows that she is not his. She goes on to explain further to the court.
You were intimate with someone else, and you believe that you were intimate with that other person during the time Zaylee was conceived, and Mr. Rasmussen was all the way in Las Vegas.
Yes, Your Honor.
But clearly, at some point, Mr. Rasmussen either thought or was informed that he was her biological father because he is paying child support. He's still driving 160 miles each way.
All of this points to the fact that Mr. Rasmussen is her biological father, or at least on a normal day in a place that is not paternity court, it does. His name is on the birth certificate too. Apparently, Ms. Miller only brought up the notion that he may not be Zaylee's biological father. Now here's what she had to say about the other possible father.
Not even quite sure. After we broke up, he changed his number, he moved, he pretty much disappeared. I have tried to find him, I have tried to get a hold of him, and I can't find him.
But you keep saying, Mr. Rasmussen cheated, he did this, he did that. And as wrong as that may be, you also slept with somebody else.
We weren't even dating then. I was single at that time, because he was with this.
So he basically wants nothing to do with her or even the thought of having a baby. And here she is, so intent on making sure that Mr. Rasmussen is not the biological father. Isn't that just something? Ms. Miller says that she does not feel bad about mentioning that her daughter is not Scotty's after such a long time.
You are insisting that Mr. Rasmussen is not the child's father, and yet you're receiving child support from Mr. Rasmussen. Have you petitioned the court to have Mr. Rasmussen taken off of child support?
I have told him a couple times that if he would just sign her over to me, that he wouldn't have to pay child support anymore.
I'm not going to do that.
Closing in on the results, Mr. Rasmussen states that if Zaylee is truly his, he will be overjoyed, and it would make him a very happy man to know that all of this drama is over. However, if she isn't, he stated that there's no amount of time in the world to prepare him for such a bombshell.
I don't think I'd be able to prepare myself for just how devastating that would be to not only me, but my entire family.
Jerome, I think it's time for the results.
Okay.
These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows.
After much ado, it's time to hear the verdict. The results are out, and all parties get to hear their fate. This is one of the most dramatic reveals in Judge Lake's court. That's for sure.
Mr. Rasmussen, you are not the father. Miss Miller.
I'm sorry.
That's a lot of nerve, considering the alternative is somebody that don't want nothing to do with you or your child.
I'm sorry.
That's a lot of nerve. You just showed me where your priorities were right there.
I'm sorry.
Because I held out hope that you weren't just acting a fool because you so mad at him.
In this situation, Ms. Davis has 4 potential baby daddies, and she doesn't even know their names. One of the potential fathers, Mr. Smith, has now been dragged to court by Ms. Davis to get tested. But Mr. Smith insists that he is not that that baby's father. Here is how it all began.
I mean, Your Honor, as a child, I had a very bad childhood. I went through 13 different foster homes. I've been to 4 different group homes, and I didn't grow up knowing who my father was until I was 18 years old. And my son's only 2. I mean, it's not his fault that I decided to make, well, practically a hoe of myself.
This is so touching. Ms. Davis knows she has made mistakes in her life, and all she wants to do is correct them. However, Mr. Smith insists that he can never be on the path to correcting those mistakes.
All right, Mr. Smith, I just want to ask you, you did have a relationship with Ms. Davis. You acknowledge that, am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And so why are you doubtful that you potentially could be Javion's father?
Because she said I wasn't, Your Honor.
She told you you weren't.
Yes. I asked if I could be the father, and she told me no, Your Honor.
Ah, so Ms. Davis was the one who got the ball rolling. Well, she told Mr. Smith he was not the father, so she could not turn around and say he was now the father. That does not make any sense at all. But there are 3 other potential fathers. What is up with them?
I need you to walk me through that.
There are 4 potential fathers, and each of the individual men I actually met on a chat line within days upon each other. I made a calendar.
Okay. Jerome, let me have that evidence, please. Thank you. So this calendar shows that you were intimate with potential father number 1 on the 12th of November.
The calendar showed that Ms. Davis was intimate with 4 men, all in the same month around the time of her conception. She actually slept with Mr. Smith for an entire week and then left him. After that, she hooked up with another man and then hooked up with a totally random stranger whose name she could not recall.
Potential father number 4, Your Honor.
You don't even remember his name. Do you know where he is?
No, Your Honor.
Having this experience that you voluntarily participated in, you're not feeling too good about yourself.
No, I mean, I know I made mistakes, Your Honor, but I don't consider my son a mistake.
Yeah, that is a good thing. Anyway, when Ms. Davis got pregnant, she tested her boyfriend and then the 3rd guy she slept with. The test told her that they were not her baby's father, which left her with Mr. Smith and the last potential father, whose name she did not know. But Ms. Davis does not even want Mr. Smith to be her child's father.
Honestly, I didn't want Mr. Smith to be my son's father.
Really?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, why?
He's a mama's boy. He still lives at home with his mama. He don't work. He's very immature. He's like a boy himself.
If I'm such a mama's boy, then why she got me here?
Well, I don't think you have much of a choice here, Mr. Smith. She has tested 2 other potential fathers, and since they are not the father, the chances of that father being you is extremely high. However, Mr. Smith has another reason, which is that he isn't this child's father.
But I still feel like he doesn't look like me or favor me whatsoever.
Have you met Javion?
Yes, I only met him once. I felt kind of scared, Your Honor, because I felt like he didn't know me, and I felt like a total stranger.
Your Honor, may I say something, please?
Yes.
Why doesn't he know you? If you've told me yourself, because you said you felt it in your heart that he might be yours, why didn't you step up then?
Yeah, I think we are going to go out on a limb here and say that Mr. Smith really does not have anything. Despite this, Ms. Davis says she is certain that Mr. Smith is the father of her baby, but she doesn't like it.
Very positive that Mr. Smith is the father, and with knowing that he is the father, to be put on my son's birth certificate as listed as his father, because it actually does mean a lot to me.
And what is that?
This is my son's birth certificate.
Jerome, hand me that. Who's on the birth certificate now? And no father listed.
No.
And you know what, Ms. Davis? You could be absolutely correct. Anyway, let's get the DNA test results and see where all of this is going. Will Mr. Smith be the father, or will Ms. Davis have to start searching for some long-lost fellow whose name she does not know?
Mr. Smith, you are not Javion's father.
I'm like so hurt, Your Honor.
You look crushed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah, I can see that in your eyes. So we've been through potential fathers 1, 2, and 3. And you said the last guy, number 4, you used protection. Are there more? There's no easy way to ask that question.